see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guess any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags, and I have with me Bo. McLovin will be in whenever he shows up, whether it be 12, whether it be 11:45, whether it be in 2 minutes. Who knows? He'll be here. So, I'm going to start off this show a little interesting today. I obviously mentioned it to Bo off air, but I want to go ahead and kind of do this. So I'm going to take the big stage right here for a moment. That's not the way I wanted to do that. Let's see. Is it this way? Nope. Hold on. Nope. It's this one. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead. I was in the car and I'm listening on the radio and 97.5. So I listen to sports talk while we're driving around, and I'm listening on the radio, and I'm listening to the midday show with Sal Chunis and Dunn. And they're some good guys. They're talking today about how Philadelphia has not gotten a dynasty. And the first caller calls in. He talks for a second. The second caller that calls into the show expresses that the reason why Philadelphia does not have a dynasty is because ever since the Philly sports guy came on the scene, that I've been a mush, that the Phillies don't win the World Series, the Eagles don't make it to the Super Bowl, or they make it to the Super Bowl and don't win the Super Bowl, and the Sixers don't get out of the second round, the Flyers stink, the Union lose their championship, and it's all because the Philly sports guy is looking for attention. And I tell you that if I have that much power, that's really what occurs because I'm going to the games, then I tell you, I would stop going. I would absolutely stop going. But I don't have that type of power. In fact, since I have been going, let's see what happened this year, this past 2 years since I have been going. The Eagles made it to the Super Bowl. The Phillies made it to the World Series. And like I said, before then, I was going to those games too. But you don't remember those games. You remember, hey, they made it to the Super Bowl. Hey, they made it to the World Series. Hey, the Union made it to the MLS championship. I was going to all of those games. That's right. So maybe, just maybe, the guys that think that I have all this power and think that because I'm going to these games that they are losing, you guys need to go find God. You need to go find something, because I tell you, I have about as much to do with these games than the concrete below. You know what I mean? I have nothing to do with any of these games whatsoever. I find it ridiculous that people even believe that, because I don't say, hey, listen, because he's going to the games, we're all losing. You're a mush, whatever. Listen, I know better. I have played sports. I know that me being at the game, that doesn't mean that somebody's dropping a ball. That doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts is throwing an interception. That doesn't mean that, the goalie's going to let up a goal. All of these things occur. I wasn't at the game yesterday. Was I the reason why Embiid got his knee all messed up?
No, it's just because you exist. So if you could be present anytime you guys play Seattle teams, that'd be awesome.
Well, you know what? And to be honest, I have been present the last 4 times that we've played Seattle. And you know what? We've lost all 4 times.
Hey, there we go.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting about that. I had people asking me from Houston because I was at game 1 of the World Series, but I missed game 2. The Phillies won game 1 and lost game 2. I show up for game 3. I had people emailing me from Houston asking me please not to go, that they would send me money, lots of money, not to go to the game 4 or game 5 because they knew that they thought I really had the control like that. So for people in Philadelphia to think that I am the reason why our teams are not doing well or that we're losing, like I said, you need to find God. You need to figure out something else. Maybe you washed your underwear. That's the problem. You should have wore your lucky underwear all season long, and you washed it. So you washing the underwear is what the reason is. Not the Philly sports guy. Philly sports guy is going to bring all the energy because I bring it every play of every game all day long, just like everybody in Philadelphia wants our players to do. And when I bring the energy, I know that I'm trying to get everybody else energized as well. And that means if I do my job, that means everybody on the field is energized. And we ultimately are going to win those games. So for the guy that called in, I ain't going nowhere, baby. You're stuck with me. Yeah.
I guess it also works for the guy that called in, though, because now he's gotten airtime on 2 different shows.
Yeah, exactly. He absolutely did. He absolutely has. So I got to imagine it was funny to me. I'm listening to it, and the radio guys are even talking like they're like, really? Really? Like he brings all the energy like that. It's amazing to watch that guy. And he even said he knows me personally. He sees me all the time. Loves my energy. Loves my passion. I take thousands of pictures, but it's my fault. It's my fault that we lost to Tampa.
That's right. You're a distraction.
Right. I mean, I was at the first 11 games. Was I the reason why we won those games? Or we won them games in spite of me? In spite of me, we won those games.
Definitely in spite of you, yeah.
I find it so ridiculous. And you know what? It's going to be funny because ultimately I am going to post that. And he's going to say, I'm the one that called.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So,
I mean, I hope so. I hope he owns it. I mean,
yeah, I should. In fact, I would love to invite him on the show. I'd love to invite him on this show right here. Let me hear your reasoning. Let's talk about it. Let's find out together why it is you think that it's me that does it. Because, when I came onto the scene, the next thing you know, we won the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Well,
maybe it's just me.
These teams, if you think about it, were kind of around for a while before you came on. I don't remember a lot of Philly dynasties before that either.
Exactly. In fact, I don't even remember a tremendous amount of championships. But if that holds true, I was at the 2008 World Series Game 5. We should have lost that game. We should have absolutely lost that game. I remember in 93, I was at a lot of those games for that. You know what I mean? When we got there, we weren't even supposed to go. And I was there for the 1-2-3 ninth inning by Mitch Williams against Atlanta, against the Four Aces, where we beat them in 6 games.
Yep.
So, and you know what? I didn't get the chance to go to any of the World Series games, and we lost that World Series. So maybe if I had gone, they'd won. I tell you, it's very funny. It just amazes me that people actually think that way. But listen, if I had that much control, anybody who feels that I have that much control, all you got to do is send me $100, and I won't go to the game. You said everybody who feels that I'm the mush, just send me $100. I'll stay away.
But $100 per sport. Let's make this lucrative.
Oh, no. Every time you want me to stay away from a game, per game.
Exactly.
That's right. You don't want me to go to a game? Everybody got to send me $100. Everybody. One person sending me $100 ain't going to be enough. Because ultimately I make more money going to the games.
Yep.
I don't know. I found that hysterical. and
Oh, that is great.
I appreciate that Mama loves me.
Yo,
Mama
yo.
talking about the stuff, and I know Chris has been a follower for a long time. I know he appreciates all the energy I bring. It's like I found it hysterical. I had to lead off with that.
Oh no,
Since
that is amazing.
we're going to be talking about some unique things today. We're going to be talking about some very unique sports. We're going to start with football. We're going to wait for McLovin to come in before we bring up what's going on around the country in some high school sports, because I had you guys go take a look at something specifically. I found it on TikTok. I did my research. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to mention it to you guys. I don't want to tell you guys too much. I want you guys to find it out on your own. And you guys found it out on your own. So
it was funny because, obviously we're going to talk about it more later, but I thought the tight situation was going to be the most ridiculous thing this week. And then this thing pops up and wow. So I can't wait for McLovin to get here because, man, that's just some dumb stuff.
No, absolutely. On a next level dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Next level. I mean, if we haven't teased this well enough, you definitely got to come back for our 1 o'clock hour or wherever you're at. Definitely for the second hour of the show, you definitely need to come back because there is going to be some vitriol for some people out there. Coming from me and probably McLovin, and it's going to be funny because we'll probably be on the same side of things.
We will all be in agreement on this because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely ridiculous. It was kind of funny. It's just like, I didn't even see that. I haven't even seen that.
Oh yeah, I didn't see
that. So that's not what I was talking about. But I am going to start about. Yeah, this has got to do with basketball. But I'm going to start off with this right off the bat here. Joel Embiid, under suggestions not to play from his doctor, decides to go out and try to play this game yesterday because he's getting all of the flack from not going in because he's got a hurt knee. Goes out there and he listens to it. He tries to make it happen. And what happens? Gets hurt worse. Gets hurt worse. This is the reason why you cannot listen to the noise. You cannot listen to the noise. It took me a number of years myself because I'm such the mush, because I am the mush and everybody hates me, or actually the haters are just the loudest ones. That's really what it comes down to. The haters are really loud. But ultimately, that's why you cannot listen to them. You cannot listen to them. You have to stick to your own devices. You know what I mean? Just be like, okay, nope, this is what's going on. I know what's going on. The NBA went and started to look for it and went and looked at it. They actually investigated to find out if his knee's bad. Well, guess what? His knee was bad. He went and tried to make it happen anyways. And in the process of trying to play, winds up having something worse happen to that. Now he might be out for like a month and a half. And let me tell you there, NBA, you're a better NBA with him playing in it than with him out.
For sure.
So all of you bappers, all the haters aren't even Sixers fans. They aren't even Sixers fans. They're just crying. Oh, he's faking it. He's just load management, blah blah blah. Well, I know he's a young guy. He's 29 years old. He hears it all. He reads it all. Says, you know what? I can go. And he winds up getting hurt. He's getting the MRI. We haven't heard about it yet. Whether it's good. What the story is or such.
Yeah, I was trying to see if there was any updates. It doesn't look like there is yet.
Yeah, I've been listening to it all morning long. So there wasn't really anything that came of whatever. About what. I'm sure that if it shows up in the next 2 hours, that I will definitely report it. And that's exactly what it is. They're jealous of attention that other people get, and they try to get themselves some of that attention. They want a piece of the pie.
It's clout chasing. That's all it is.
Right. Everybody says, I tell people, hey, you want to be the Philly sports guy? Heavy is the crown. Heavy is the crown. It's hard work to be me. And if you want to walk a mile in my shoes, be my guest. But I work really hard for it and be prepared to deal with all of the trials and tribulations that come with it. There's been lots of times that things have been really difficult and really hard to do what I do. But you stick with it because I have the passion. And most of these people, all they've got is a loud mouth and want everything for free because they feel entitled.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean that caller needs to go find a special tights. He'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, a couple other things that I noticed here. Uh, Something that came up. Yeah, obviously everybody saw. It's been all over. It's probably been more shared on the internet than Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce was the thing that happened before the game between Tucker and Mahomes and
Oh,
Travis Kelce.
yeah.
And I know exactly that was gamesmanship on Tucker's part. He's a kicker. He's a kicker trying to get under the skin, just trying to get a little bit under the skin. So what Mahomes did, yeah, it's fine. Mahomes actually, he said initially he wasn't gonna let it bother him. He was just gonna just dismiss it. And then Kelce comes over and throws all his stuff away. And then Tucker wants to go ahead and try to do it again. Listen, there's no need for you to try to practice 60-yard field goals while everybody's right there. You never kicked a 60-yard field goal, Tucker. You ain't going to in the game because they ain't going to do it like that. That you knew sure as hell that there was not going to be any type of kick that you needed to kick for 60 or 70 yards. So what are you doing there? What are you doing there?
Funny is he was actually setting up on the goal line, which is something you're never going to do in a game.
Like I thought he was at the 50.
No. He was at the goal line.
Oh, so, well.
Yeah, there's absolutely no scenario where he's going to do that. As far as kicking a 60-yarder, I mean, he has done that. They've had him do it. But
right.
But no, he was on the goal line. So he was in the middle of their warm-up. When I initially saw it, I was like, oh, okay, like you don't really need to be chucking his stuff. Because, I mean, the specialists do go out there first, right? And so, the first clip that I saw was him just, stretching. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's just finishing his stretching and whatever. And then as you start seeing more angles of it and the longer that it went, it's like, oh, no, he was legitimately out there just kind of being a problem. And, so it changed the perception of it. Because initially you're just like, oh, yeah, I mean, Kelce was kind of.
Yeah, as I'm looking at this from James Palmer TV on X.
Okay.
He shows the full field. I thought the way that they showed it and the way that they had boxed it out, it looked like it was at the 50.
Oh, I got
that's what I was thinking, that he was on the one side of the 50 trying to kick that way, and they were on the other side throwing that way. So absolutely, they actually, the truth of the matter is that the NFL should have stepped in. A referee should have stepped in and says, get out of here. Because ultimately that could have changed in a much different way.
Yeah, well,
had 3 or 4 Chiefs converged on him, he's a kicker.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So the referee should have stepped in on that immediately and been like, get over on the other side. There's no need for you to, hey, if you really want to bust balls, get on the 50-yard line and start kicking balls and missing short.
Well,
that would be the way.
The thing there is this was part of the this was before the official pregame. So this is them just going out there to warm up on their own. Like, this isn't part of the official pregame, which is why they didn't have anybody out there regulating any of it anyway. So, it was definitely him being a problem. I mean, that's really all it was. So, after watching more of the angles and everything, like it changed the way I looked at it. Because again, the first clip of it, you're like, okay, Kelce's kind of being a douche there. But then when you start looking at it further and where he was on the field and, all of that, all of a sudden you're just like, no, Tucker's wrong there. Like he needs to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. And he goes, I asked Tucker to move it out of the way. He goes, there's been on 3 occasions where a kicker hasn't moved his stuff out of the way. All 3 times was in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So, I believe that Kansas City might be 3-0 during those three.
I
So
mean, the
maybe if the kicker was doing his job rather than bapping, trying to get up underneath anybody's skin, putting some bulletin board stuff up there, getting everybody riled up, maybe they would have won. Maybe they'd have played better. Maybe your quarterback wouldn't have stunk up the joint and choked. Maybe things would have happened better for the Ravens in general, rather than you trying to be Mr. Cool Guy and being funny about it. Because I know, because you know who did the same thing? The 49ers did that same thing. Remember when they were kicking extra point as they're running onto the field?
Yep.
Like I said, referees should have gotten in the middle of that too. Because ultimately, all you needed is one guy. When he's kicking the balls and he's going right over these guys' heads.
Yep.
All you need is one guy to just not feel it and go and bang him one. Because it's a kicker. That kicker ain't got nothing. Next thing you know, you're somebody who's like the 45th man on the roster, who's just a guy who's going to do, he's the backup special team guy.
Yep.
And he's going to be the one. You have him be the one that's the banger. Because if you lose him, you're not really worried about it too much. But guess what? He might hurt the kicker. Now you ain't kicking nothing.
Yep. Not just that, but you can't get a penalty in pregame. Doesn't even hurt your team.
That's actually not true. I've watched penalties happen. You can get kicked out of the game.
You can get kicked out. I haven't seen him award any yardage from it.
Right. But
that's
what'll happen. That's what would happen. He would get kicked out of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why it's got to be the. That's why it's got to be the 45 guy.
Yeah, no, exactly. If he's a low tier guy, like that doesn't hurt your team, and it doesn't hurt your team on the field either. So, right. I mean, you could potentially do something like that. We're not condoning that on this show. Let's be clear. Just calm down, people.
Hey, listen. I mean, they say worse stuff on different shows. Listen, the New York Giants condoned hey, for the tush push, you should just jump over the line and hit the quarterback right in the head, give him a concussion. That's what the reporter said, who was a football player.
Wow.
You said, actually the guy doing the color commentary for the Giants specifically said that specific. That is crazy. That is crazy. So it's like, it's all that stuff is just, all right, you want to go ahead and do that. And then guess what? The guy did it. He jumped across the line and hit the quarterback early. Okay. So I guess you're listening to it now. So did the NFL jump in? No, the NFL didn't jump in, but they should have. They gave a 15-yard penalty. They gave a 15-yard penalty to the Ravens for going offsides.
Oh, okay.
Remember that? Remember that play? He went offsides. It was the 1st and 5, and instead of trying to stop them, he just went offsides and knocked him a little bit. The guy went flying backwards and stuff like that. They gave him a 15-yard penalty for that.
Yeah, unsportsmanlike. Yeah.
And that didn't deserve it. He went offsides. Sometimes that happens.
I mean, let's be honest. The referee situation this year has not been awesome.
Correct.
It's been wildly inconsistent. The calls have been bizarre at times. So yeah, I mean, anything we saw from the reffing crews this year, none of it shocked me. Like every time they blew a call or threw a flag on just something that didn't make sense, you're like, yeah, no, that tracks. Like the 2023 was not the best officiating year.
I'm just reading this right now. Just came out 8 minutes ago. 1 minute read. It says, Jerry Jones, no doubt I could work with Bill Belichick. Now this is the second. This is the second sound bites that. So McCarthy is out of contract after 2024. They're not going to renew his contract. He's going to be one of those coaches that's going to play with the 1-year contract. So it's possible you might see Belichick there in Dallas next year. I guess we'll find out. But this is the second.
Is that some foreshadowing? They still fire McCarthy anyway?
Maybe. I mean, he's already committed to him for next year.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. But ultimately, I don't know that. I think that if unless something crazy happens, I don't suspect that that would occur. So we'll see. We'll have to find out about that. So
Yeah,
the
if
other
Bill comes in and says, "Hey, you know what? I'll work for free."
the other sound bites that I heard from Jerry Jones today, as I was watching something specific, it said that you know, I said that we would go as far as Dak would take
Yep.
us, and we went that far.
Yep.
That if that's not a ringing endorsement for your quarterback, I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, it what I sent that soundbite earlier today, I think. It was amazing. It was amazing. And he wasn't wrong.
No, no. And listen, Dak is a great quarterback. Certain games, he gets up for. I mean, he's for a lot of the games when games don't matter so much.
Yep.
Dak Prescott plays great.
Sure.
But when those games matter, it becomes more and more harder for him to actually get the W's in those games. And
Yeah.
it's hard to really say that, hey, okay, this is what it is. This is how it all works out. But I mean, I don't
I
know.
mean, he's that Kirk Cousins, Tony Romo guy. He just it's not bad. It wins you a lot of games. Doesn't win you rings, but it wins you a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, we got this whole, Lamar Romo, Dak Cousins, Kirk Prescott, and Tony Jackson.
Yeah.
There you go. It's all four. I don't feel that Lamar Jackson lost the game.
No, there are way bigger problems there.
Yes. Let's go right down to the fact that had they not had that 15-yard penalty called on Flowers after he gets up and stands over them and then spins the ball, like literally, had he got up, spun the ball, and walked away, probably no 15-yard call.
Probably not.
The fact that he stood there and looked down at him.
Yep.
That's when you spend 5 seconds standing over instead of going back to the huddle or doing your thing. Nope, you blew it. You know what I mean? That's what it was. He blew.
And he spun the ball in a way that was almost hitting the guy anyway, right? So like had he turned and spun the ball and walked off, he'd have been fine. But yeah, almost hitting the guy with it, kind of pushing him down to stand up, and then standing over him. I mean, you could have had the 15-yarder on any one of those pieces.
Right. And I think that it took all three to even have the refs do it,
Probably.
to have the refs call it.
Probably.
But really, that's where that 15-yard penalty comes when he goes through the line. Instead of being a 5-yard offsides, it's like, okay, you've done one thing that was bad. You've done two things that was bad. Now this is the third thing that's a little bit questionable. Guess what? You're not getting the benefit of the doubt. You guys are doing things the wrong way. Instead of 5 yards, it's 15 yards.
That's right. You can get 2 pumps. Can't get that third pump.
So, and that's I feel like that's kind of what occurred a little bit. So you can blame whatever you want. Like I said, had he not done that and gotten that 15-yard penalty, they may have scored on the next play.
They might have, but I mean, they were primed to score anyway, and then he fumbles into the end zone regardless. So I mean,
right, but that was also 5 plays later.
It was
2 minutes later.
Sure.
2 minutes later. So really, again, it's the momentum. You have the momentum going for you. You just had that big play, 51-yard play. Now you've just made that 51-yard play 36 yards. And now you got to go walk down the field again a little bit.
Yep.
And then in the process of that, I guess it's apropos that you're the one that tries to get in the end zone to make up for the bad call and ultimately not protecting the ball.
Yep. I mean, that's why they tell you not to reach, right? Especially if it's not 4th down. Like if it's 4th down.
And he didn't even reach. He had the ball like this, but it was open.
Well, he reached forward because he punched it right out of his hand. Like he was full on diving for the end zone. And that's why they tell you not to do it. It's why Bill Belichick will bench you for it, right?
Right.
You do that, he's like, yeah, go sit down. He was reaching out, and the defender came through, mashed the ball out of his arms. But yeah, I mean, you didn't need to do it there, right? You were getting a first down, right? Like there was no reason for it. And again, if it was fourth down and you were going to turn the ball over anyway, going for it on 4th and goal, whatever, sure, yeah. I mean, you do whatever you can, but in that scenario, no, you protect the ball and you get first down and you try and punch the thing in, because although they didn't try and run, when they did run, it was effective.
Yeah. And I was watching on TikTok and seeing some of the Ravens fans that were talking about it. And my cousin, big, huge Ravens fan, does like 5-minute soliloquies on TikTok talking about football. And he went off on it and said, I can't blame the refs. It's always going to be the third guy in. It's always going to be, you got Kelsey. Kelsey is doing stuff to rile up everybody. Well, you want to know why? Because your kicker tried to rile him up in the pregame. So guess what? Now, and that's what he said. We all season long, we were bullying people. When somebody started to bully us back, we lost our heads. Yeah. And in the process of that, we had 60 yards of penalties called on us.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
I mean, they ended up with even more than that, as I recall.
They had 98 yards, but 60 yards of penalties of 4 personal fouls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So those are the things, you know what I mean?
Well, and the worst ones were that one, right? Because they were going to get off the field, right? KC they were backed up. They were on their side of the field. They were about to, close it out, get the ball back. Boom, first down. Just being dumb, right? Then the next play, another 15-yarder for clubbing a QB in the face, right?
Yep.
That's a flag all day,
every time. Every time.
And so now, instead of being backed up and punting, they're 1st and 10 in midfield.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge turnaround. Then, of course, they go down and score, right? So, I mean, and so instead of being smart, staying out of that, the ref was already in the middle of that little scrum anyway. What do you think you're going to add to that? Like, that ref is definitely going to know who the third man in is, because you are making eye contact with him to get in between. So, right. I mean, and you came in and immediately hit him with your helmet. I mean, that laundry's coming out every time.
Every time. And you know what? So they deserve to lose. I mean, that's the problem. If you're going to do that type of stuff, you deserve to get what you get. And that's what happens.
And I mean, if you're going to just abandon your whole game strategy for the entire season, right? You're the best rushing team in the league, and you have 8 rushing attempts by running backs. You already deserve to lose that game.
Oh, no. 6. Only 6. 2 was by Flowers. So he's a wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, so 6. That's even worse. So
exactly.
I mean, so yeah, it's yeah.
Crazy. And that was one of the things that he said as well. It was like, hey, you're the best rushing. You have the best rushing attack in the league.
Yeah,
in the league, and realistically, it's not the best rushing attack in the league. You just happen to have Lamar Jackson, who gains a lot of yards with his feet. Sure. And that's a real statement, I mean, because that's how we were the best rushing attack in the league last year, because we had Jalen Hurts running for first downs and gaining 700, 800 yards. When your quarterback gains 800 yards on the ground, you are going to have a top 5 rushing attack. It's guaranteed. It's the reason why. Do you think that the Buffalo Bills had a great rushing attack? No. Josh Allen gained a lot of yards, so that puts him in the top 5.
Yep.
That's what happens here. So I mean,
you're always a little worried when your quarterback is in the top 10 for rushing yards, right? He's in there with all the running backs. It's like, oh man, that's a good recipe to get your quarterback killed. Like,
well, but not only that. I mean, so that's kind of the reason why I thought that they kept trying to throw the ball. Because they wanted to throw the ball. They wanted to see the lane open so that he could run. but they weren't doing that. They were not giving him lanes to run the football. That's the reason why he wasn't able to go anywhere. That's the reason why he was running around in the backfield. And truth of the matter is that Lamar Jackson, he's kind of like Hurts. He can only go run one way to throw the ball. If he's got to throw the ball, he can't go the opposite way because he just doesn't. He can't do it. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts can only run right. He cannot. He can't run left because he can't throw the ball that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Or maybe I got it backwards. I think he can only run left. He can't run right because he can't throw the ball that way. So it's the same way. It's the same way with Jackson. So maybe they'll learn. Maybe they learn something from this. Yeah. If you're going to play bully ball, sometimes you're going to have a bigger bully. You got to be able to hold your head. You don't have to go ahead and try to win every battle every time.
Well, and I mean, even if you were going to try and lean into the run game, why didn't you get your running backs more involved? Because that's going to open lanes too. You give him the RPO, right? You give him those options. He can keep it. He can hand it off. He can pull it and then try and pass. Like, run some of those plays. Like, they really didn't use the things that they've been good at all year. For them to abandon their play calling before the game even started was bizarre. Like, if you ended up way behind, sure, you become one dimensional. Right. You have to, right? You got to make up points. This game was never out of reach, right? I mean, it ends 17-10. Like, this is not like it was some crazy, you were down by 30, you got to make a comeback, where it's like, okay, yeah, you got to chuck the ball around. Like, this game was never out of reach. Why are you abandoning the parts of the game you're good at? And you literally abandoned it before the first snap even happened.
Right.
Very weird.
No, I get it, and it is what it is. That's obviously, and of course, your kicker, who started all the stuff in the very beginning, he only got 3 points in the day too. So I mean, obviously, he was a big factor in getting them, in getting them the loss.
For sure. Well, why are you giving any team bulletin board material? Like, this is always dumb to me, and it doesn't matter what level of football you're looking at, or really what level of sport. Any sport. Like, why are you giving any other team a reason to be more up for the game? Because that is the best way to catch an L if you weren't going to originally, right? Because they may be thinking, you know what, this team's better than me. But you come in and you start stupid stuff, and they're like, no, you know what? You can pound sand. And they'll come in inspired. And all these teams are talented. So the last thing you need is for them to be a little more extra up for your game.
Well, that's all that occurred. And obviously, we have a 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl. It's all red all the time. These two teams have the same color patterns. So it really does suck. That being said, something else that I wanted to mention, I find it interesting that this is the second offensive coordinator who said that he is going to be sticking with the team rather than going to get a head coaching job. And Bobby Slowick is staying with the Texans. So you got Bobby Slowick, you got Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, it's so funny because we talk about it's Ben Johnson, right? It is Ben Johnson, right?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah, and wasn't that the name of the sprinter in the Olympics a long time ago? He was the one that beat Carl Lewis.
I don't remember offhand.
I think it was. I think it was Ben Johnson. Right. So I immediately think of that, and I'm like, oh no, it can't be. His name can't be Ben. But I think it was. I think that runner was Ben Johnson, who ran in the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So, but that's the second offensive coordinator that said, no, I'm not going to go for a head coaching job. I'm going to remain a coordinator.
So Johnson was a little different, though. That one, it sounds like he wanted a ton of money. So I've heard somewhere between 15 and 18 mil. And when you figure Harbaugh, who seasoned coach, won a title, been to a Super Bowl, proven winner, right? He gets 12 and a half. So you're telling me as a team, I'm going to bring you in. You're unproven as a head coach. We've seen your offense be effective the last few years, but you want more money than the guy that just won the national championship? It's like, yeah, I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on that either. So I think some of it is the teams looked at that price tag and they're like, yeah, there's no way we're doing that. I mean, because what if you come in and flame out? We're on the hook for however long that contract was going to be at 15, 18 mil a year. Like that's not an enticing number. So it makes a ton of sense to me why he ultimately is going back. Now they have a good team, so he has a real shot to, try and make a run at this again with Detroit. But for Washington and Seattle to not pull the trigger on that based on, again, those are reported numbers. I don't know exactly what the offer or what his request was, but if it's anywhere near that number, yeah, I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on that either.
Well, and I think about that. So I would say, they give all of these different bonuses to players.
Sure.
Why not give bonuses to your coaches? Like, listen, you are coming to a team that is not in the playoffs. So obviously, make it to the playoffs, mill. You make it to the conference championship, another mill. You make it to the Super Bowl and win it, another mill.
Sure.
So there's another $3 million you could get by just getting me to the Super Bowl and winning it, Or you could do it. You could even do it at $500,000 increments. Hey, you get $500,000 to make it to the playoffs, $500,000 to make it to the divisional. You get the number one seed, it's automatically $500,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Actually, you make it the number one seed, it's $1 million. We're going to do it that way. That's how I would do it. You got $1 million. You just coached all season long. You got me the number one seed. We're on a break for a week. You get $1 million.
Yeah.
You win that game, you get to the conference championship, another 500. Get to the Super Bowl, another 500. Win the Super Bowl, straight out another $1 million. There you go. Now you got that $3 million. $1, $2, $3 million right there.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah.
That's okay. I would take $10 million with a $3 million bonus structure.
Sure.
You win Coach of the Year, also another $1 million.
Sure.
Let's do it that way. Now it's all incentive laden. I'm going to give you 8 to 10 million a year, and you do what you say you're going to do. Bam.
No, I'm with that. Like I think coaches should have some incentive based pay as well, right? Rather than the way it currently is, where they can be good, they can be bad, really doesn't matter. And then you can fire them, and they're getting the whole payday anyway. So I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing some of those be incentive contracts for sure. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there is some of that in there already. I would imagine.
I'm sure that because all those bonus structures don't go against the cap, do they? I guess they have to, though.
Well, so yeah, I mean, they kind of do. And then, I mean, the coaches stuff doesn't go against the cap at all, but,
right.
But yeah, I mean, it has to be based on maximum payout, right?
Well,
because otherwise everything would be like there would be so much creative financing to do that if your bonuses didn't go towards it. I know signing bonuses don't always go against the cap, but
signing bonuses get structured that can go signing bonuses. You could take out a signing bonus 2 years after the contract. So a signing bonus can go. That's where dead money really happens. That's why when you have Dak Prescott, who is going to go up against the cap for another couple years because their signing bonus was so high, and they're extending that out 2 years past his contract.
Yeah.
So even though this is his last year of his contract, he's going to have cap hit for another 3 years.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean is you can be creative with the way that it affects your cap. Like it doesn't go directly against your cap when you get paid, I guess is what I mean. It they can kind of fudge those numbers along. Whereas, your pay during the season is that season's hit, or at least a percentage of it.
So that being said, I mean, Slowick is getting a little bit of a raise. Actually, he said he's getting a significant raise for staying. But why would you think he didn't go?
I mean, the future of that franchise is bright. And the thing is you have the only two jobs that are available at this point. You have Washington, that's an unknown commodity, right? You don't know what this new ownership group's going to be like. You have a new GM. You have a lot of draft picks, but you're going to have to build everything, right? You got to bring in all of your own coaching. You're going to have to kill it in the draft. You better hope that their new GM learned a lot from John Lynch. So I mean, there's that's going to be a tough out as a first-time head coach, right? Like someone's going to take it, but it's going to be a tough out. On the other side, you have Seattle. You're coming in after two very successful coaching regimes, right? You had Holmgren. He got the team to a Super Bowl. They won, the division a few times. Then you have Pete Carroll, been there for 14 years, only missed the playoffs, twice, maybe 3 times, something like that. Went to 2 Super Bowls. So the roster that they have has also been in the playoffs. So you have an incredible amount of pressure to be good today, right? Because otherwise it looks like a misstep for moving on from Pete, right? So at the bare minimum, you have to be a wild card. You have to be a wild card contender at the very minimum as a coach coming in. Otherwise, it's a failure. Everybody will look at it and be like, why did you get rid of Pete? He at least had us competing for this wild card position. And so that's going to be a incredibly stressful job, especially if you're a first-time head coach, because of the amount of success that has been there before.
Gotcha. Ooh, yeah, that's an interesting story. I'll get back to that in a second because we were talking football. I don't want to change up so dramatically there. I, it's interesting. Obviously, since you're there much closer, who are the who is the leading candidate right now for the coaching position up there?
So Mike McDonald is definitely going to be one of the front runners. So John Schneider flew out and met with him on Tuesday, I believe, and then or Monday. Maybe it was Monday. And then he is being flown out from what I was reading this morning today. So this will be his third interview, second in person. So I would have to think they're kind of leaning that direction. Dan Quinn has been met with, I think, 3 times as well. And they did meet with Kafka, I think, also for a 3rd time. So, but out of those 3 guys, I would think that they're probably leaning towards McDonald, but we'll see.
Gotcha. All right. So I think McDonald's would probably be the best choice for them. But
I agree.
Hey, who knows? You might get Kafka. Yeah,
I hope not. Let's try not to have the dumpster fire come to town. Let's.
And listen, to get a 3rd interview though he must be saying something right.
Oh, of course, yeah. Although to be fair, I mean they went through 2 interviews with, I don't know, 8 or 9 different coaches. So I mean, they may just be doing their due diligence across the board. This is kind of new territory for John Schneider, right? He was hired at the same time as Pete, so he hasn't had to do this part of the job. So I mean, some of it may just be embracing learning this part of the job, right? So we'll see how it plays out. Of the 3 guys that have had the 3rd interview, though, I would prefer that Ravens DC than bringing Dan Quinn back, or Kafka, where everything he was coaching was bottom 5 in the league.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, well, I hear you, but that was last year. I mean, he was there for 2 years. He wound up being part of a coach who wound up getting Coach of the Year the year before.
True, true. It, yeah. I mean, you're
Winning
not
a
wrong.
playoff game, winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
It's like coaches that were quarterbacks seem to be a thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you were a quarterback, you seem to see the field differently in comparison to other people.
I mean,
So
a lot of the success of that team was Saquon, though, because it's not like Daniel Jones was amazing. Like, he had a good season, but it was all predicated on the fact that Saquon Barkley was running out of his mind, right? So, I mean, most quarterbacks can look pretty good if everybody's worried about your running back.
exactly. I see that too. Okay, no, there we go. Um, yeah, I mean, I hear you, but it is the Giants, so ultimately, I feel like that they get that one lucky thing occur, and they win that Super Bowl, and then the next thing you know, like that, and it's always their defense that does it. It's been their defense. Like I feel all four Super Bowls that they won was really the defense that
Oh,
did it. So
no doubt. No doubt.
I
And
mean
I mean,
that.
it's not like those teams were good, right? Like, as I recall, those were both wild card teams, right? With Eli. Like, they were very average.
No, the
Or was it?
2012 that was the 2012 is where they beat Brady for the undefeated season, correct?
Yes. Did they win
That
their
was
division
a
that
wild
year?
card team. That was a wild card team.
Yeah.
The other year
I thought
was
they
they.
both were.
I thought they won the division.
No,
They won the division
and
like the last.
maybe they did. Maybe they just won it, in an unimpressive fashion. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, neither one of those teams were phenomenal teams, right?
Right.
Now, if I'm going to give Eli credit about anything, he is clutch, right? Like, once he gets into the playoffs, he plays very different than he does all season. Because the whole time you watch him during the regular season, you're like, wow, this is not great quarterback play. And then he gets in the playoffs, and you're like, okay, well, I mean, maybe this guy can play a little bit.
Maybe, but I it is what it is. I'm not as super excited about Eli or anybody from that coaching staff. But if you guys were to take Kafka, I'm all for it. Make it happen.
Yeah, that would make one of us.
There you go. There you go. Real
He
quick
can
before we
stay
get
right there in New York.
doing a quick switch over to baseball. I
Okay.
just want to. I would while we have like a few minutes, let's talk about some baseball here because once we get back and we get McLovin here, we're going to have a whole nother conversation, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But first thing, the Orioles are going to sell.
Oh, really? I didn't
The
see
owner
that.
of the Orioles, Angelos, agrees to sell them for $1.7 billion. So the Orioles are going to be going to a group led by two private equity billionaires. So
Interesting.
David Rubenstein and Mike Arrighetti. So there you go. Yeah, no clue either. But they are buying the Orioles for $1.7 billion. But the real thing, a couple days ago, there was a Jackie Robinson statue that got stolen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not just stolen. Like, they cut it off and then threw it in a dumpster and lit it on fire. Like, that's absolutely
what
insane.
I'm reading about now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely insane.
That's what it is. I'm reading the story right now that it was found in the dumpster, all burnt up. Now, first off, it's a metal thing.
Yeah, it was
I
like,
mean,
it was a bronze
did it
statue.
melt? Did it
I mean,
melt?
if it gets hot enough, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how well that was, but
So they said it was in pieces in the article. And so that makes me wonder, not only did they cut it up, cut it off the base, but did they cut it up some more? So, I mean, that makes me think that it's not going to be repairable in any way. Like, if it was just a dumpster fire, and it was bronze, I mean, in theory, it wouldn't have got hot enough to do anything. They might have been able to resurrect this thing, but if they cut it apart some more, they'll have to remake the thing. But I mean, how are you cutting down a Jackie Robinson statue at a little league park? Like, what are we doing? Like, how dysfunctional are people's brains at this point that seemed like the thing to do? And if they do find out who it is, they should be banned from sports for life. All sports. Like,
Well,
just, yeah.
I mean, it's exactly. First off, this is Wichita, Kansas.
Yes.
Wichita, Kansas. I mean, it's like really, like what's I don't get it. I don't understand. Uh, you know, I hope we find out. Like I really do hope that we find out that this was like kids screwing around because it doesn't look like it was cut well. You know what I mean? It looks like that they actually broke it
No,
off.
I think they used a sawzall. I think they just, like a battery sawzall or something, because they're kind of like, you know how hard it'd be to break a bronze statue, especially at the exact same spot on both sides, right? I mean, because if you put a chain around it and you yanked it with your truck, bronze is strong enough. You might have just ripped the base apart.
Okay. All right. So then that takes away that. I was like saying maybe that it was just kind of kids fooling around and like just happened to do something ridiculous and it broke it like that one spot because it didn't look like it was a very clean cut. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And that they didn't know what to do at that point, and so they tried to burn the evidence. You know what I mean? That's kind of what occurred. But it sounds like that. No, this is more involved than that.
I mean, to me, that my interpretation of it, right, is it looked more involved than that. It looked more malintent than, kids were climbing on it and it broke and you're like, what do we do? Right. Cause I mean, those kind of things happen. Although again, to break a bronze statue, you'd have to be trying, right? Like you're not just climbing on the thing. Like you're trying to knock it over. You're doing something dumb for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That these are 14, 15-year-old kids that are kicking the statue. I mean, next thing you know, the statue breaks, and you're like, oh, now what? So,
I mean, I would hope you were right, because that would be a lot better than what it probably is.
right, because if somebody else, and they'll catch this guy. They will figure it out. There are cameras everywhere. Big Brother is watching, so. There's a good chance.
This looks like it's actually on a wood base, so they definitely didn't knock it down with a rig or something. Yeah, I don't know how they broke it, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the picture now. I mean, it does seem like it has kind of a weird break to it, although part of it is very straight, so it looks like maybe they cut through part of the way and then broke it the rest. But in any event, it's a sad state of affairs, people. Like, do better out there. What are we doing?
Right. The statue didn't do anything to you. It's just what do you think that they're not going to put it back? All you did was just cost somebody some money.
Not just that, but like there's a covered area. It looks like it's a 3-field, little league park, right? And there's a covered area in between the 3 fields, and it has his number up above, right? So I mean, it's not even like you somehow took away from what the field is. Like they still have his number in the awning. So I mean, I don't know. It's dumb. Again, do better. Hopefully it was dumb kids though, because if it's worse than that, then man, what are we doing?
Exactly. Hey, listen, I big surprise. Jay is actually have hair. I didn't think he had any hair. So coming on with the big surprise there, not wearing the hat, we get to see that he does have. It's receding a little bit, but it's still there. So good on you, Jay. And we're going to take this as our break here. So we're going to take a few minute break for our station identification. We'll be back for the second hour of Coast to Coast. So please, coast to coast, not coast to coast.
Yeah, words are hard.
Please stay tuned. Exactly. I mean, you can see right now without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get it each.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we are back for our second hour. But before we get to talking, I want to just let everybody know this Friday night, I am going to be guest bartending at the Wings game. So definitely, if you go to my link tree, which is linktr.ee/TPSG, you can buy tickets and come support the Team Philly Sports Guys with me, the Philly captain, No Shorts, and Chase U. Everybody's going to be there. We're going to be guest bartending. We're raising money for the Special Olympics of Pennsylvania. It's going to be a great time, and you get to watch the Philadelphia Wings as they go ahead and they work on getting themselves back into the playoffs. We welcome Jay back to the show as he shows up right at the hour mark, and we were talking a little bit, but we waited for you to start to have this conversation. And Jay went out, and I asked them guys to look up some. I gave them some homework last night, late at night. I was like, hey, listen, I found something. And let me preface this. I found the original story that I heard about it on TikTok, where it was Dana White was talking about this originally. And he was talking to, who is the guy? Who is the guy that, I don't know. It was a political guy. It was like somebody who you wouldn't necessarily have this conversation. And it was somebody who actually posts a lot of Joe Rogan stuff. So, and he's the one saying, hey, there is this team in Maine that is about to have sanctions put on it because they are beating other teams too badly.
This is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard. Like, how are you going to penalize kids for being too good? Right? I mean, I get what they're 11-0, and 5 of those wins were by 50 points. So I mean, no joke, they're beating the brakes off these other schools, no doubt. But for you to come out and be like, hey, you have to make these games more competitive. No. The other coaches need to make this more competitive. Like,
I'm about to say, like, it makes no sense. It's like, okay, so I'm overachieving, so I gotta mute myself to those who aren't achieving. Are you serious? Maybe they should go to the gym a little more often. Maybe the coaches should down some better plays. Maybe they should just get better players. But you want me to change my game to suit you. Your insecurity of who you are. That's what you want me to do. This is ridiculous. That thing takes everything away from sports.
Well, it's the next part that really takes away from it, right? So that part is already done. Like, you're asking them to not play hard, which is insane to me. So then they take it a step further and say, hey, you guys are, in trouble, or in danger, I should say, of having postseason sanctions, basically making it so that you can't be in the playoffs. This is the reigning champ from the season before. We may keep you from being in the playoffs because you're beating these other teams so bad. What are we even talking about? That would be like that undefeated Patriots team, right? They were just smashing people, right? Like, they were killing that whole season. So you were just to be like, you know what? You're not eligible for the football or for the Super Bowl. We don't do that because we feel bad because you're beating up other teams. So we're just, we're going to throw some other, we're going to throw the Falcons in there, right? As I recall, the Falcons were kind of terrible that year. So, like, what are we doing? Like, these sports.
There's a couple of things that interest me about that, though. There's a couple of things that interest me. I watched at least 3 or 4 of the games that they had that I could find on YouTube. And one thing I noticed is this team is very fast driving, fast tempo. They like to go to the rim a lot. They like to shoot the 3 ball a lot. They don't do a lot of, playing around. And one thing about Maine basketball that I really thought was interesting is there's no shot clock, right? Everybody else has a shot clock. There's no shot clock with those guys. So what they're telling the coach is, coach, just go down there, pass the ball around, play ring around the roses until the game just is done. Now, I don't know about you, Bo, but if I'm out there and they're playing Harlem Globetrotter antics,
like, I'm mad.
Make me look stupid. That makes me even more mad. Because, like, okay, look, guy, I know you could score, but I know they told you that you had to pass the ball around. What's more irritating or more frustrating? The fact that somebody's playing with you and you know they're playing with you, or the fact that they're actually going out there and playing the game of basketball and giving you a fighting chance to get the ball back?
Yeah, no, I mean,
you almost had it. You almost had it.
Absolutely ridiculous. It is the dumbest story I've read. And again, like we said at the beginning of the show, I thought the tights thing was going to be the dumbest thing this week, and then this thing pops out. Like, this is insane that you're trying to limit these kids. I mean, at the end of the day, these are high school kids. They want this film seen, right? They're trying to get scholarships to colleges and stuff. Like, nobody cares whether or not you're in your feels because your high school team got the brakes beat off them. Well, get better at basketball. Like, what are we talking about? Get better coaching. Like, figure it out. Like, if you don't want to,
and they got the brothers out there. I hope I get the name right. I think Gaddy brothers or Caddy brothers. There's 2 brothers that they're fighting to get the 1,000 points to set the school record or break the school record. So they're out there scoring 31 points, 28 points apiece, whatever the case may be that particular night. And you want them not to try to break the scoring record? But to me, that's ridiculous. Like you said, this is what it is about. They're trying to get scholarships to these colleges, right? And get that NIL Quan. I'm sorry, if I'm the coach of those, or if I'm the dad of those 2 boys, I'm like, hey, look, if you got a chance to score, I don't care what that coach says. You're gonna put the rock in the hoop. I don't care.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and I'm gonna fully support you in it.
No, I mean, besides, true in any sport. If you don't want them running the score up, stop them. Plain and simple.
Right.
Little D.
So,
never heard nobody.
What started this all was the principal of Belfast. This is the, for anybody who is looking, this is the Oceanside varsity high school team out of high school basketball team out of Rockland, Maine. So that's where this is all coming from. What started this whole thing was that they beat the crap out of Belfast on their home court, by the way. Yeah, so this was they were playing at Oceanside on the 17th, January 17th, and it was 126 to 38.
Oof.
And the principal cried. It's like they had their starters in the fourth quarter. They were going after this record, and I don't see any need for them to go after this record. Blah 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 blah. Whine, cry, wah, because my team stinks. The coach was like, they got a really good team over there. They really beat us. You know what I mean? So it wasn't him that was doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was the principal. So it just so happens that in the midst of all this, I get this story, and then I have you guys look at it. They played them last night again. The first time when they were playing in Oceanside, it was 126 to 38.
Yeah.
In Belfast, on their own home court, the score was, they took it a little easier on them, 103 to 28.
Good God.
You know, the thing that's funny is it would be really hard as a player on that team, especially when this story comes out against that team, to not want to lay it into them even harder. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, you want me to play, stall ball for 8 minutes? No. We are going to try and set a single game record against you now. Right? Like I would have been all about trying to dunk on you all game.
Pags spoke. This was so. Pags spoke. This was so bad. I did actually see the article too, and it was so bad that these student athletes that are the starters for this team said that even their backups off the bench were better than the other teams.
Right.
Their backups were better.
I mean, and that's what happens. This is I'm going to say it's a level 2. It's a B squad team. I don't know how they do it up in Maine.
Sure.
But here's what I do know, that it is a very liberal state. And they were discussing putting sanctions on this team.
Exactly.
Because they're winning games by too much. Listen, the moment that you put a sanction on a team because they're too good, is the moment that everybody in that state's got to move. Time to move out.
Yeah.
Because, hey, listen, if you're going to give the participation trophies to the youth of America that are just about to take over the world in that area, I don't want to live in that area, because that's
not at all.
Here's the thing that's hilarious, right? Is there's this whole everybody gets a trophy thing, and there's the we don't keep score, and all, especially in like little kids, right? The really young kids are like, oh yeah, we don't keep score. It's just for fun, whatever. You know who does keep score? Those kids. Those kids are out there counting. Like just because your parents are mad and upset, they're like, oh, that team's too good. It's like, no, the kids know. Like you can take the numbers away, but the kids are going to be like, yeah, no, we got beat down. Like,
I'm sorry, I just think you're sending the wrong message for a lot of times sports is supposed to be, especially when you're playing youth sports in schools. It's supposed to be the next building block for life, right? Teaching these kids how to survive in life. So you're teaching me that I can't be too good because then I get frowned upon. So then I'm going to curtail what I'm doing. No, that's we're sending the wrong message.
It also tells you that if you're bad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, hey, work harder. It doesn't say work harder. It says the team that's better than you, we're going to kick them out so that you look better. Like what's the plan here? Like, what's the end goal? Because
ultimately, let's go the opposite way, or take this one step further. You put sanctions on this team.
Sure.
Now, the players on this team that were getting looked at by colleges now are going to now say, I don't know that I can even look at this guy anymore, because they're taking away the ability of him being able to do his 100%. Maybe now he can only put out 70%. So now they've taught him how to not succeed.
Yeah. Well, and how's this game going to progress, right? Because at the end of the day, these are college kids, or I mean, high school kids. So, like, they're not polished. They're not, they're not the best they're going to be. Which, I guess for the other schools in that division, that is a scary thought. But they're not as good as they can be. So, when you have scouts coming from college, they're looking at tape from year to year to see if you progress or whatever. And if you're hogtied because all of a sudden you don't get to play postseason ball because you were too good. So now we're making it so that you can't perform in hopes that you can get to the playoffs at some point. It's going to ruin scholarship chances for these kids. And then say they do play this style of basketball and they make it to the playoffs. Do they then have to not play hard in the playoffs too? You got to keep it close? Or do you get to go in and actually play basketball and try and win? So, I mean, none of this makes sense at all.
I agree. And ultimately, you're right. The team, the two guys, they are twins that are one's a little bit better than the other, but both are amazing kids at this, and likely they're playing for the rest of their lives. Yeah. There's a time and place for the participation trophy to occur, and I think that ends at 10. At 10 years of age.
I don't know. I never liked that participation trophy. That's why
I understand, but it's not about us. It's not about us. It's not about us.
It should be about the way we were brought up. That's okay. That's a whole other world.
That was kind of my point. Is even at 10, like I was competitive. Like I wanted to win. I didn't want to hear, oh, everybody wins. Like no, they didn't. Like
if you really don't want to go hard, you really want the score to get run up, why not just do like everything else and just say, look, if a league gets to this level, we're just going to stop the game and say, okay, you won. We're not even going to go any further in the game. So what's the point of going further in the game? Literally, you just wasted another 30 minutes of my life that I could have been doing something else with my kid rather than making me sit here and watch him play Ring Around the Roses and make this dude look like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean,
give it back my life. Can I give my life back?
I guess you could have a mercy rule. I don't
you might as well. Because you already had the mercy rule. The minute they tell you not to run the score, that literally is the mercy rule. I'm just saying, why even go that far with it? If you know they have a snowball's chance in hell to catch up, just call the damn game and let's go home.
First one to 70 and you just call it?
No. Actually, here's what I would do if I was playing that way. If we're going to be making those types of rules, I'd say, all right, if you get ahead by 50, you lose a guy. If you get ahead by 60, you lose another guy. So now you're playing 3 against 5 and 4 against 5.
What would be amazing?
Oh my God!
What would be amazing
is if 3 against 5 is still better than the other 5.
That's what I was going to say. Imagine if they still pulled ahead. You know how disheartening that would be.
Exactly.
Fun of, man. Oh my
that's like being on a 5-on-3 power play and having a shorthanded goal scored against you in hockey. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You should be embarrassed by yourselves.
You should.
So, but
man.
ultimately, I felt like this was something that's really, because I have to imagine that there is some of this going on in other places too.
There is. There is. Yeah. I mean, and of course, these kinds of things hit me wrong because I might be mildly competitive. So
so am I.
So I hate things that are tied or everybody wins, or I would rather take an L than a tie. Personally, I hate ties.
Right,
I hate everybody gets a trophy thing. Like
I don't know, because if I get a loss, I'm pissed off. If I get a tie, I'm neutral. It's like that was 8 months of my life.
Honestly, I'm mad that I'm not only mad that I didn't win, but I'm mad that it's
there. It is. There it is. 3 minutes ago. 3 minutes ago, we said that we'd do it. Frankie beat us a little bit to it, but Mike McDonald, Seahawks are expected to hire Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald as head coach. Reports from ESPN Adam Schefter. More to come.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's the way I thought they were going to be going because of the way that they were doing the interviews this week with him.
I think that's a good thing for you. If you're gonna, he was probably one of the few. Him and of course Ben Johnson were probably the two coaches. I think if you're gonna step away from Pete Carroll, okay, those are good guys to come in and take the team in a new type of direction, right? A good direction. So good for you, man. Damn.
So Butters here. I disagree. I mean, you did win your conference, right? So you get a conference championship, you get a ring. It's an accomplishment that you can feel good about for sure. You still don't feel great about the fact that you did not win the Super Bowl. And I can tell you, a championship ring is wildly different than a Super Bowl ring.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. But you still
feel good about the accomplishment, but you still lost. Like it,
right.
You don't feel good about you feel good that you were the conference champion. You don't feel good because you didn't win at all. So there was still work to be done.
Exactly.
From the outside, do you feel good because you hang a banner? Sure. Do you feel good like later down the line because you hang a banner? Sure. But you're going to look at that all the time. You're going to look at that ring. It is why you don't really see guys wear their championship rings. You're going to look at that ring and be like, man, we came up short. That's what that ring means.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
And somebody who is overly competitive, and has that competitive fire in them isn't going to wear that ring.
Exactly. I might be that guy.
So if after everything and you're retired and such like that, you could look back and say, well, we were close, and this is this is what I have to show for it.
If you wear that ring, that is telling the world that I am a loser, because the first thing they're going to say to you, no, seriously, think about it. Watch this. No, seriously, watch this. Hey, Bo, I see you got the NFC Championship. Well, who won the Super Bowl? Because it sure as hell wasn't you, was it? That's the first thing I'm thinking when I see that ring. Literally, because you don't have the Super Bowl ring, which means you lost to somebody. It's like wearing a runners-up ring. There's no runners-up ring.
I mean, there is.
I'm saying, like, if you're like in a fashion beauty show or whatever, there's no runner-up. Cares.
Well, how come the Super Bowl winners don't get a conference ring and a Super Bowl ring?
They do.
Yeah.
Do they get both rings?
I thought
you only get a Super Bowl
conference to get to the Super Bowl.
No. You get a championship ring. You never hear about it, but you get a championship ring. At least that's the way I understand it.
I thought you only get one ring.
Oh, see, I thought you actually got a championship or a conference championship ring.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No,
I'm not
okay.
sure. I'm not sure. We'd have to look that up. But
I could be wrong on that. I don't know.
I'm not even going to waste my time giving him a ring. That's money we can stake, because he ain't never going to wear that thing. He going to be wearing that Super Bowl ring.
Right. That's what I would think.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, if you had one of the two, you're not going to wear the conference champion. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't probably wear the conference championship ring either way. You either one, wear the Super Bowl ring, or two, it would just be a constant reminder that you didn't win the Super Bowl.
I don't know, Pags. I truly feel like Bo would wear it. I feel like he'd be wearing it all over. I think Bo would have it on a necklace underneath his shirt, so he didn't have to answer the questions.
Nah, they're not flashy enough. That's the problem. Is they don't really put diamonds in them championship rings.
I wonder what maybe they give you the cubic zirconia.
No. They don't even put them in. It's just a smooth face kind of ring. The Seahawks have a couple of them, so I've seen them. They they have like one jewel, and outside of that, they're not quite the same. But championship rings, they sparkle a little bit. And channeling my inner raccoon, I do like some shiny stuff.
There you go. And there you have it. So, were you ever? Do you have a ring from any of the semi-pros that you?
This one right here.
There you go. Look at that. See, let me see if I can get him in there. Let's get this.
I gotta see a better view of that thing.
There we go.
I'll walk up to the camera.
There we go. He's got to get all the way up to it. There we go. Now we're going to get a full view of this.
Full view of the ring.
There it is.
Look at that thing. Bell.
Nice. Look at that. He's got. What were you? The Ravens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there you have it.
And it's one of those things. It just it gets me in the right frame of mind. It's why I wear it. It's why I wear it when I'm on camera. It just it's one of those. I play sports. Everybody has their own little ritual, right? So it's one of mine.
There we go. And Mama, you knew Mama had to come in. It's raised, whatever that. I'm sure there was
raised. I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, raised my kids to always play their very best.
Rated my kids. Rated them like a champ, like a pirate.
There you go. So, but I thought that this was something that was worth a good amount of attention today. Like I said, when I saw that. Obviously we were talking about the tight situation, which was a little ridiculous in the first place. And then to hear that the whole state was going to pass sanctions on a team because they are too good is utterly, utterly ridiculous.
It is one of the more wild things I've heard. That just,
if I was the opposing team, I would just go over to them before they got in their locker room, maybe the night before or whatever. And I would just steal their tights. Then I got to play them.
Exactly. I'd wear them. I'd steal them and then wear them. I got your tights on. Guess what? I'm beefing up in them right now. You know what I mean?
It's got to be one guy wearing all of them, though. It's just the thickest, stretched out.
The biggest guy on that team.
100%.
The guy who's like the 400-pound dude who just sits on the bench as the 12th man. He's the one wearing it on both sides. He's wearing one set of tights on one side, one set of tights on the other side, just stretching them out.
Absolutely. He's just stacking all the pairs on top of each other.
That's hysterical. That is hysterical. So, all right. So, anyways, like I said, we did hear about the Seahawks hiring. Oh, there we go. And as Seahawks hiring McDonald's as the head coach, they say more to come. It hasn't come out yet, so I guess they're going to officially announce that first off and foremost.
Well, it makes sense because he was flying into Seattle today, so it makes sense that he would be here for that announcement because he would be here to sign.
Right. Yeah, that's probably what it was. It probably had more to do with the fact that, hey, you signed this contract and, here's a nice little hat and welcome to the team.
Yep. Let's do the press conference. Here we go.
Contract. We were talking about yesterday what players ask for in their contract. I wonder what coaches ask for in their contracts.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier where that Slowick pulled himself out of head coaching discussions, probably because he realized he didn't want to be part of the Washington team. That's probably what occurred now, because I have to assume that everybody thought McDonald was going to be the one that went up to Seattle. And ultimately, good news travels fast through the NFL. There's probably a thought that says, yeah, you don't have to come up here. And then he's like, yeah, I'm not going to Washington.
I would too. I don't know if I'd trust that situation or the Panthers. I put them in the same category.
Dan Quinn's just going to be back in Dallas. Is all that's going to happen.
Pretty much. Yeah, we'll see him on the sideline.
I disagree. I think he goes to Washington.
Do you?
I think he goes to Washington.
All right.
He's the only other name that's been interviewed by everybody.
Yeah.
Kafka was interviewed there too.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
I mean, that feels like a Washington move.
Maybe. I mean, at least there, you could say, hey, listen, if he was in a Super Bowl, he brought a team to a Super Bowl. May have had the biggest collapse of ever, but he was in the Super Bowl. So there's a possibility that has to do, that could come into play. I think.
And he's been to 3, right? He won with Seattle as a coordinator. They went to a second one, right? He then moves on, gets to a third, loses that one, right? he didn't sniff one in Dallas, but I mean.
So did Bobby Slow, did he actually interview with Washington? Did he go to the interview with those guys?
Oh, I don't know.
Dan Quinn?
I'm just wondering, because if he interviewed with them and interviewed with that new Washington ownership group and then said, hey, I'm not going to go to Washington, I wonder if that would say that maybe there's going to be issues or did he notice issues with that ownership group that maybe he just didn't like?
I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because, I mean, you're going to have to build out your coaching staff, right? Because they need an entire coaching staff there. So, I mean, it may have been a situation where maybe the pay wasn't high enough and the requirements were a little bit too much for what you were going to get paid. It's tough to say exactly what that looks like because it's new ownership group, new GM. You have to build out your roster, or you have to build out your coaching staff, and you have a roster that needs everything. Right. So, I mean, there's some players on there, but outside of that, like it's not ready to go. And you have a ton of draft capital, or I mean, so that this draft can be fruitful, but you're not going to be good this coming season, realistically.
Right.
I mean, maybe you hit home runs and you turn into Houston. It's possible, right? Anything can happen, but the odds are low. So, I mean, then it also comes down to what did that contract look like? How much time do you get? Are they going to be patient enough for you to build out this whole roster? So there's a lot of questions that go into it. And as bad as that team is set to be this next season, yeah, I'd probably hang out with Houston and see where we can grow from here. See if you can, do something further in the playoffs because they also have some draft capital and can make some noise this next year.
I would have been curious to see if he went to Washington and how him and Bieniemy, I still hold Bieniemy in high regards as an offensive coordinator, not as a head coach, but definitely as a coordinator. And I would like to see what the two of those guys could have came up for that offense, right? I think that would have been really a neat dynamic. Now the defense, that's a whole other side of the ball, but at least on that side, I think they could have did some stuff over there with that side.
So do you think Bieniemy stays?
I don't think he's going to leave. I don't think he leaves until Andy Reid retires, and then maybe he tries to get that head coaching job. But a lot of people said that he doesn't interview. He interviews more like a coordinator than he does a head coach, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why he hasn't been offered positions because he's interviewed, right?
So what my question is does he go somewhere else to be a coordinator? Because there's still some coordinator positions open.
That's true.
Does he want to go somewhere that has a little bit better roster? That's going to do something sooner than Washington's going to do. Because let's be honest, if he's on a bad team, it's going to slow his progression to get back, get that opportunity to be a head coach. So does he go to, like, say, Seattle, that realistically has a lot of pressure to win right away? Do you come and show that you can be, that guy and, hang out with the Seahawks for, a couple of years?
And they do have a lot of interesting weapons for him to work with, too.
A ton.
So that for an offensive coordinator, that could be his dream.
Yeah.
Spot to land.
No, exactly. Because, if you can do something with this offensive roster, which, you certainly should be able to, right? You got two really good running backs. You have weapons as receivers. You have good tight ends. Like, there's really not a reason why you can't be successful. A lot of this offensive line should be healthy this next year. So, it's not like you have to
look for an offensive lineman in the draft in case.
Well, I feel like they probably need to do that anyway for some depth because we saw a drastic drop off going from the starting two tackles to the backup tackles. But so, you probably have to address it to some degree, but the odds of it being as beat up as it was this year is, it's pretty low, I would think. So that offense should be really nice moving forward, right? Because if you look at the season before, it was a top 10 scoring offense. It wasn't this season because everybody was hurt, but the potential's there with this roster. So if you have a good offensive coordinator, you take Bieniemy, he has a couple of good seasons with the Hawks. He can be in that head coaching conversation faster than struggling through a rebuilding process in Washington.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking of struggling through a rebuild, We talked about a couple of things that Jerry Jones said this week, or actually yesterday. First off, saying that no doubt that he could work with Bill Belichick. So, secondly, thing he said is that Dak Prescott, he will go. They will go as far as Dak Prescott would take them, and they went that far.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that he said is that they are going all in the 2024 season. That there is no rebuild. They're going to go all in this year.
I feel like you have to, because the following year you're going to lose a lot of talent. Like I feel like this is the push your chips to the middle and make the run at it, because next year you're not going to be able to afford everybody. I mean, you already can't, right? You're already over the cap.
Right. They are 15 million under the over the cap.
Well, and how does that? And this I don't know. Maybe somebody that's watching can give me these numbers, but because of that bonus structure that Dak had, that is going to hit the cap even if he's not on the roster. How much of a cap hit are those numbers? Because I mean, that can be a real problem moving forward too, because it may make it harder to re-sign Dak.
In fact, the problem here is that, like I said, he gets his signing bonus extends 2 years past his next year. So he's only with this team for the next year, and then the signing bonus extends 2 years past that. That being said, if they were to cut him right now, all that comes forward.
Sure.
And ultimately, he winds up costing them an additional $30 million in cap hit.
Well, but in this scenario, say they stick with Dak, right? They're going to sign him to this new contract. That doesn't absolve what those numbers already were. So all of a sudden, his cap hit for those couple of years could be huge, right? Because they're going to have whatever.
It actually would extend it out. So that's what you do. You give him a small, like his signing bonus would probably be his salary for this year. Yeah. And then you extend the signing bonus out for beyond where those couple of years, so that you actually bring the cap down.
Sure. So I guess you're kicking the can down the road at that point, but
that's exactly what's happening.
But the can gets bigger, right? Because you're kind of compounding the problem, because he's gonna make more this time than he did last time.
I don't know about that.
He will, but I think at the end of that 2 years, if they haven't gotten to the Super Bowl by then, I mean, they can always franchise tag him, right? If they don't want to give him the long-term deal, or if they don't believe in him to give him the long-term deal.
They could. Yeah.
So there's always
but even then, that all goes directly against the cap right away. So not only would they still have to pay for his, the cap hit that they have for the signing bonus that extends past the 2 years, they now got the cap hit for him being on the team. So now it's almost like he's still getting paid $50-60 million.
Yep.
I mean, but all this is mundane to me. When you say we're going all in, well, all in really means just more the same to me. And I understand Jerry thinks this and Jerry thinks that, and really what hurt him this year, like I said, number one, it wasn't so much the talent level that hurt them as it was the play call. We all watched the defense. We all saw how Dan Quinn called that playoff game that we lost, and how they were playing way off the wide receivers and giving them all kinds of wiggle room. Those things really hurt.
Sure.
I don't care how much talent you have. If you're not playing them aggressively, if you're not, disrupting their timing, if you're not doing a lot of those things on defense it takes to win games and put pressure on quarterbacks, then you're going to lose the game. You can't give them Tom Brady-esque, tear you apart time. And that's really that's one of the things that gets me the most. And that's why I have no confidence, and I'm not going to have no confidence going into next year. I don't care how well they play the regular season, because we know they'll play great in the regular season.
See, I knew you weren't a real Cowboys fan.
And we're going to get the same damn situation every time.
See, I knew you weren't a real Cowboys fan. That is way
you can say
too
what you
level-headed
want
to have
about
a
that.
scar on
You
the
don't
helmet.
know me. Just take that ring that you got tucked in that shirt and bring it on out one more time for us. Come on now, Bo. Do better.
What's that?
Do better.
He's all upset because his team can't get past a playoff game.
No, hey, look, well, you're right, Bo, I had to take a second. Now I see you weren't really attacking me. You were saying that I'm not a real Cowboys fan because a real Cowboys fan would be delusional 24/7.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm not that way. So you know what? I take it back. You can bring the. You don't have a ring there. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect you. I hope you take my forgiveness. Forgive me on that one a little bit. I
figured you were
really got mad at
like
you
that.
when you said I wasn't a fan. Up until I got to the point into my rant, and then I heard, Jason, I don't think he was insulting you. I think he's saying that you're not a delusional fan. I think he's actually giving you a compliment that you took the other way. So shut the fuck up. So that's what I say.
So that's the part that made me realize you're a Cowboys fan.
Right, exactly. Because you don't understand. He can't speak, can't understand the language. He's just always figuring that everybody's hating on him. And
when they say Dumb and Dumber, just when I thought you could do anything dumber, yeah, go and do it again.
You go ahead and redeem yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Redeem yourself. There you go. That was a correct line.
Priceless.
Yeah, see, we get these. He comes up with the half line, and I actually give you the line. It tells you that I watched too many movies back when I was younger. So,
by the way, hey, I don't know if y'all watched, but on Amazon Prime, I watched Snoop Dogg's comedy show, The Underdogs, last night, and my wife is like, "Is that really Snoop Dogg?" Can you? And I said, "Baby, leave me alone. I'm in my element right now."
So, and I have a follow-up report from something that I mentioned yesterday. Because again, you never know what you could hear. This is why I don't like to report things right away. So there was a reporter that spoke to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Both are still on board with this team. Both are, A.J. Brown did not ask for a trade. So, and it was said out loud from A.J. Brown. Now, I'm not sure how much you can believe somebody or not. Again, it's a little odd that this is occurring here. And, it's okay, we're going to think somebody says one thing, another person says another thing, and you go to the horse's mouth and he says, I never said that.
Yeah, but he also
is it a PR move? I wonder if that's a PR move from Brown's agent to Brown.
Yeah, you almost have to say that, right? Because otherwise, you can find yourself on the outside looking in. There's not too many players who can be like, yeah, screw this team.
Right, because you don't want to necessarily, you want to leave yourself with options. If you go one way distinctively, there's no going back the other way. So you kind of play, as long as you play neutral to see which way the best situation occurs, right?
Yeah, all I know is the Tony route is probably not the smartest game to play, right?
I should have sent you the video that I saw on Instagram. Obviously, it was AI. It was definitely AI. But it had Andy Reid saying something like, talking about the Kadarius Toney and saying, really, we should have put the rest of the team on the injury reserve by how much he hurt us, and his stone hands should not show up on next Sunday at all. It was
amazing.
And it was in Andy Reid's voice.
Awesome.
And everybody said, wow, AI is really, really good, with that one. So
it is coming along. Yeah, no, that would be hilarious.
I will find it again. It was on Instagram, and I know that we like to share our Instagrams. You know what? In fact, I may try to do that moving forward here. We may do a segment tomorrow on Instagrams that we share.
Sure. We do send each other some dumb stuff for sure.
Oh man.
Yeah, I used to have a segment about like that called like the TikToks. Like we would just go and find the most ridiculous TikToks and just share them up there, and it would be amazing. It would be amazing content because there is always people that are saying ridiculous things. So
the internet is always undefeated. So there's usually some hilarious stuff, mostly pointless. Let's be honest, but hilarious.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mostly pointless, but hilarious.
Hey, listen, wait till you see mine later on today, Jay. I mean, you weren't here for the beginning of the show, but I had to open up with a monologue on how my day started today because I got airtime today on the radio, and I wasn't even calling in. That somebody said the reason why the Philadelphia franchises have not got any type of dynasty whatsoever is because of the Philly sports guy. The Philly sports guy came in, and ever since I got here, we've lost the Super Bowl, we've lost the World Series, we lost the MLS championship, and I'm like, wow, dude, you're giving me all of that credit that it was my fault specifically. It was amazing, actually. Like I said, I'm going to find it and I'm going to put together that clip.
You know what?
It's
That should
absolutely
be
going to
the
happen.
clip on all of your shows. That should be like part of the clip in your in your intro.
I take that back. I think in that scenario, you would absolutely wear that championship ring because you're like, I caused this.
That's right. This was my fault. They wouldn't have made it even this far if it wasn't for me. Yeah,
he's got a necklace and it's just full of rings all the way around. All these are mine.
All right, so yeah, see, you're giving me fodder here. I could go ahead and go get my Phillies championship ring that they gave out.
All of a sudden, it's a Pandora's necklace of failure.
Oh man,
that's not. Hey, at least we get the bling on failing that close.
It's true.
Man,
it's true.
Hey,
so
I would just love to sniff the NFC Championship game right now.
That's one of the worst things about being a Hawks fan, right? Is we're so obsessed with the the number 12 here, right? That we had to go 1 and 2 in Super Bowls. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Exactly. I would actually wear the ring. And then I would have a hoodie that said it took me 30 years to get that ring.
Hey,
that's what I would. I'm serious. You might as well go all out. Right? If you're gonna wear it, I'm going all out.
And there you have it.
Get a Super Bowl. I might faint and pass out.
Yeah,
they might think I'm dead. Give me an organ donorship. Who knows?
After being at a championship or not, like when I was there for the 2008 World Series and witnessed the championship, there's no better feeling in the world. To tell the story, it was a birthday present for me. My birthday's October 20th, and they won the championship on October 27th. And the mother of my son got me this gift, and we're about to have a baby. Somebody offered me $4,500 a ticket to the game. And so it would have been $9,000. Trust me, we could have used the money.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I said, no, can't do it. Cannot do it. And no, Alexander, we're here. I'm going to tell. There you go, Alexander. Okay, there you got it. I ain't posted anything else because you started out great and then you went weirdo. So
we're in the middle of a conversation. We're not going to.
Yeah, and we have a lot more viewers, Alexander. You just happen to be the only one watching on YouTube, so I appreciate it. So there you go. You got your 30 seconds of fame. Anyways, and then, so obviously it's the rain delay. They have the rain delay for 3 days. The guy comes back and he offers it again for just the second half. Just that 3 innings. And again, I turned it down. It down again. So there's reason why, because I said, I may never be able to witness this again. Never again. I may be stuck here with this. If I don't go to this and witness this championship, I may never see this again. And it's, yep. And here we are, like last year. You talk about the ride last year for the Phillies, the ride last year for the Eagles. And in the process of that, I had gone to the MLS Conference Championship the NLCS, and the Eagles Conference Championship all within a matter of 4 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
I tell you, my body had to recover. After we lost the Super Bowl in February, I took like a month and a half off. My voice now has gotten back to normal, but it took a full year to work that out. And I was at every one of those games. I went to every home game. I went to a lot of the away games. I was there, and people saw me. You know what I mean? I was there, and and it's hard. I didn't lose my voice, but it was definitely strained.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that's why I shared it with everybody. That's why I went onto social media, because you want to share those moments with people. Not everybody gets to appreciate that. Not everybody gets to be as lucky as I do. So I want to share that with the world. And that was part of the reason why I would do certain things. To find out that people hate that badly, that they have to call a sports talk radio station to say that I'm the mush. I find that hysterical. I find that very funny.
It's pretty great.
Oh, yeah. All publicity is good publicity.
100% it is.
Exactly. Yeah, and like I said, even the radio guys, both of which I know, said, wow, like it's like I don't know that you could say that about him. We asked for a reason on why Philadelphia doesn't have a dynasty. You gave me one. I don't know that it's a real one, but you gave me one specific.
Not all theories are good theories, but
what is it? You open up the door and a lot of things come in.
Yeah, there is no doubt.
See, the problem is you didn't have the screen door up. If you'd had the screen
I
door
don't
up,
think it would have mattered.
Good.
Now, that one seems like the person that runs right through the screen door.
Oh, damn! You know what? You're right.
So when I do post this video, I am going to ask for him to come on the show. I hope that he would spend a few minutes. We're going to get him on. I'd love for him to be a guest on this show. I'd love for him to talk to us about why he feels that I am the cause of all the losses. Because there were a lot of losses before I got there.
A ton.
Oh,
Lots.
yeah.
Lots.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I came on the scene.
They made a whole – that was the thing, right? I mean, I go back to the movie Invincible, but that's really what Philly was like, right? That's what I kind of got a snapshot a little bit of that. I know it's entertainment. Don't get me wrong. I'm tracking that. But, the Vince Papale and all that, the open try. I mean, there was a time in, Philly went through some dark stuff trying to find – the route to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. And which is, hey, you got to know where you've been to figure out exactly where you're going. You know what I mean? And I have suffered through a lot of losses, and I have taken them on the chin. I was in Houston when we lost Game 6. And I went out to people, and people would come up and run up to me and put their camera in my face.
Yep.
And I would tell them, congratulations, guys. You guys had a great season. You guys wanted this. You guys kind of deserve this for all the hate that you've gotten over the last few years, and to be safe. And when they would hear that from me, they'd be like, whoa.
Yeah,
whoa.
They wanted.
No, but you can't help but now say, thank you. You know what I mean? It's like right. I get to watch them celebrate, and it stinks to watch another team celebrate. But
yeah, but I mean, there's really nothing else you can do there. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to lose your mind?
Right.
You still lost. You're still going home. Like,
hey, I knew right away when they made that pitching change. When they made the pitching change and they brought in who they did, I was like, this is bad. This is bad. He's seen him too many times. Seen him too many times. That ball, they said it only went 450 feet. They were lying. Were lying. That ball went every bit of 500 feet. Every bit of it. I watched that ball. I was in center field, and I watched that ball go over everybody's head in the outfield. Wound up landing in the near the concessions.
Yeah.
That was such a monster smash, and you knew
And
at that
no,
point the
and that
game was
game
over.
and that series really was heading your direction when y'all guys went back to Philly. And that's why I like Michael Brantley so much, because I honestly believe had it not been for Michael Brantley and the conversation he had with the players in that locker room prior to the game 1 in Philly, or at that point, I guess it was what, game 4, whatever it was.
It was game 4. After they got shellacked, they got smashed in game 3 with all those home runs. And they came out in game 4. And everybody forgets. So everybody forgets during that season, we clinched the playoffs in Houston. It was supposed to be at the beginning of the season that we played them, and it got moved to the end of the season because everything got moved because of the COVID start and blah, blah, blah. Like everything got pushed back a little bit. So we wound up clinching in Houston. The day after we clinched, they almost no-hit us. We wound up getting a hit with 2 outs in the 9th to break up the no-hitter. We lost that game like 9-0. So when we won that game 7-0, I know they went out drinking. The next day they came out a little flat, and they didn't, and it was, they no-hit us.
Even though Michael Brantley couldn't physically play the game, the one thing I loved about Michael Brantley is that's why they call him Uncle Mike in that team, is because he's the guy that got them back mentally in the game and said, hey, look, let's go out and play our baseball. Let's play what we do. And I'm telling you, hey, from then they found it, and I mean, they did great. Of course, they went on to win the World Series. And that was, and of course, Michael Brantley, if he retired this season. This was his he's not playing this year, so he retired. But it was sad to see him go, but it was time.
Right. But like I said, I thought that was a great series. It was a lot better than this series that happened this year. You know what I mean? I think it would have been a better series had Philadelphia made it. Had it been a rematch of Philadelphia-Houston, I think that would have been an amazing series. I think that we would have won that series this year. I think that we had the better team. But, things weren't meant to be.
You only had the better team if you win, guy.
That's right.
Let's keep it in perspective.
No, absolutely.
Hey, listen. I will tell you this. Texas, the biggest thing for Texas was Aroldis Chapman, man. Or is that the one I'm thinking of? The one that played left field, Garcia. I'm like, Aroldis Garcia. I'm sorry. Left fielder. The one that, we hit him in that one time, and then after we hit him with the ball that one time, then he just went on some tirade from hell, and he just kept hitting long ball after long ball after long ball, and I'm like, okay, fuck it.
Well,
that guy really was a spark plug for that Rangers team, more so than the pitching was Garcia. Garcia was the motor in that Rangers team,
Yeah. No, I mean, sometimes you don't have to be the best team, though. You just have to get hot at the right time.
At the right time.
Right?
That's right.
You cannot be the best roster. And, if you get hot at the right time, that's what matters.
Right.
Well, listen, that's how Arizona got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's how it works. And ultimately, it didn't matter afterwards because they got there, and Texas was just a better team in general. They had the better pitching staff. They were just better suited to be able to beat them. Where
that Bruce Bochy, I got a lot of respect for him as a manager, man. He really, he knows how to pull those right strings in his team and keep them level-headed. Even when it was kind of rough for Texas, he kept them on the level-headed. Because look, when they lost the division going into the playoffs, that could have been disastrous for those guys.
Yeah,
but they wound up winning the division, didn't they? Didn't they win the division?
Yeah, they won.
No. Houston got the division at the end.
No, they didn't.
No, the Rangers got it at the very end.
The Rangers did not get last year. The Rangers did not win the division last year. Please don't
look it up.
Look it up. Do you really want me to do that? Because if I do, I'm gonna blast it all over social media.
You know what? We're actually out of time though, so we'll have to cut that for tomorrow.
We're out of time. Damn.
But you can bet we'll talk about it some more.
Yes, and we'll bring this up tomorrow too a little bit if Kelsey's staying with the Eagles in some capacity. So Paul, come see us tomorrow. But as always, we appreciate everybody coming in and watching us for a couple hours. We will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. And so feel free to come on in and talk to us. And maybe we'll have some videos for you to see because we've had some crazy ones come across our path recently. But everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Stay tuned for the Wednesday wrap up.